Milton Berle joke file, renewable energy. Now here's a good one. So there's a wind turbine who bumps into a solar panel at a cocktail party. She leans over and shouts, "Hey, I'm a big fan." Here's another one. How do solar panels like their eggs? Sunny side up. What do you call a sloppy solar panel? A hot mess. And finally, what do wind turbines like to talk about? Nothing special. They just like to shoot the breeze. Enough with the jokes, because on today's show, we got a cosmic battle between a certain solar ETF and a certain wind power ETF. The battle between fan and tan starts right now. Welcome to ETF Battles. I'm Ron DeLegge, and clean energy, also known as renewable energy, is one of my favorite investment trends. It's good for the planet, it's good for humanity, and there are many untapped profits to be made. Today's ETF Battle features the first trust global wind ETF, that's ticker symbol FAN, versus the Invesco Solar ETF, ticker symbol TAN. 10 years ago, the average size residential solar installation was a pre-incentive price of $40,000. And since then, it's dropped to roughly $20,000 today. It means the cost of solar adoption is lower and it's expanding, but so is wind power. In the US alone, there's over 60,000 wind turbines in 41 states. So it's wind power versus solar power. Which ETF is the better play? Now, before I introduce our judges, you can download a battle recap of today's show with a clean breakdown of how each of our judges scored, as well as the overall battle winner. Just hit the download link in the description section below in this video. Also, be sure to subscribe to ETFguide TV, hit the like button if you've been enjoying our content, and check out our other weekly shows like the Portfolio Report Card, where I analyze and grade your investments. Helping us to judge today's matchup is David Kreinces at ETF Portfolio Management and Mike Akins at ETF Action. Guys, it's great to see you. Welcome back.
It's great to be here, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Ron, Mike. Aloha, guys.
So we're going to begin with going through each one of these battle categories, starting with cost, exposure strategy, performance, and then the mystery battle category will be last. That's where you guys get to pick that multiple factor or single factor in determining your final analysis. I love the mystery category because, well, it's a mystery. We don't really know what it's going to be for certain judges. But then it also helps us to understand your rationale. We get to see your personality and your approach towards ETF investing. So one of the other reasons I like the mystery battle category. So my scorecard is ready, guys. And as you can see, I've got Kenny Rogers. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Kenny's going to be helping us to keep score today. And we're going to begin with Dave. The first category is cost. So get us started.
On cost, these clean energy thematic ETFs both charge 0.6 to 0.7%. And since the 10 basis point cost difference is not material, the cost here is a split decision.
All right, that's a strong start. Thank you, Dave. Mike, how do you see it in terms of cost? Who wins the battle?
Couldn't agree more. While both of these strategies are very unique, they're very unique in their own special way, and expense ratio at 7 basis points difference between FAN and TAN has no material impact on performance. So it is a split decision from my perspective as well.
Exposure strategy is the next battle category. Mike, you're still up. Who wins the battle between these two renewable energy ETFs?
So this is a really fun battle to really think about two different ways to look at impact investing. You look at TAN and it is dominated by information technology, primarily semiconductors. Over 60% of the portfolio is in semiconductor names, with the remainder spread out between utilities and industrials. The FAN is just the opposite. It's got almost 60% in utilities and the remainder in industrial companies. So very different makeup of portfolios, delivering very different return structures over time. I think they actually pair really well together. And I think from a standpoint of looking at them, they're just so different that I give them both a win together. And potentially both a loser separate. So I'm giving it a split decision on this one.
Thank you very much. Dave, how do you see it in terms of exposure strategy between these two ETFs?
Well, both of these thematic ETFs are concentrated niche funds that benefit from the strong trends in green energy and socially conscious investing, known as ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Both TAN and FAN give you some foreign exposure. TAN has roughly half in non-US companies, while FAN has 88% allocated abroad. Now, even though Tesla is not in this solar ETF, investors should probably follow Elon Musk in picking solar over wind. If wind was the better long-term trend, Musk might have launched Windy City instead of Solar City. And since Musk picked Solar City, that's good enough for me. So I give the win on exposure here to the solar ETF TAN.
That's my hometown, the Windy City, Chicago. Thank you for mentioning that. And those are some good takes, Dave. So next up is performance. And we got to look at the performance comparisons between these two ETFs. So Dave, get us started in this category.
On performance, over the 12.6-year period since FAN's inception, both of these funds underperform the NASDAQ 100. However, when we zoom in, we see that these green energy ETFs have both been hot lately. Over the past 3 years, TAN actually returned almost 9 times the S&P, and it even outperformed the wildcard GOAT ETF, NASDAQ 100 3 times TQQQ. Given this extraordinary short-term return, I give the win on performance in this battle to the solar ETF TAN, but also just a quick shout out to the LeBron James of funds, FANGU, the FANG 3 times ETN. You know, LeBron on his GOAT campaign just threw down 46 points in his recent Cleveland homecoming. And FANGU, which we called the LeBron James of funds last year, FANGU just returned 5 times your money over the trailing 3 years. But that's just extra wild card banter for you. The win on performance in this battle goes to the solar ETF TAN.
Thank you very much, Dave, for that reference to LeBron James. You're alienating Miami Heat fans, Cleveland Cavalier fans, and Golden State Warrior fans. But nevertheless, it is what it is. So let's shift to you, Mike, in terms of performance between these two ETFs, FAN and TAN. Who wins?
So I think if you look at the long-term performance, and going back to since common inception, TAN is 40% underwater since their common inception. So despite being up astronomical returns on the 1 year, they're up 257% on the trailing 1 year as of today. Up 69% annualized on the 3 year, 40% annualized on the 5 year. On the 10 year, that falls all the way down to 6.4%. And actually FAN significantly outperforms on the 10 year with 11.24%. So longer term, FAN has delivered better returns, but really it's an example that a lot of times these themes aren't quite ready for the big board. And I think TAN solar is a great example of a theme that, sputtered around for quite some time and just recently found its mojo as an investable investment as technologies come on board. So long-term prospects, I do like the idea of solar over wind. I like the higher beta names in technology versus those in the utilities and industrials inside of FAN. But I have to throw a big caution out here. And that is, if you look at the short term, just over the last year, TAN has 30 stocks in its portfolio. 21 of them are up over 100% on the 1 year. The vast majority are up over 200%. 10 are up over 400%. And 2 of the companies are 10 baggers.
Wow.
So if you look inside of this portfolio, they have been red hot or white hot or whatever you want to call it. And as a result, valuations are trading in la-la land. The vast majority of companies inside of this portfolio are trading over 10 times last year's revenue. A significant number of the companies inside of this portfolio are not yet profitable. So I think you have to take a step back and realize that while long-term there's a lot of opportunity here, perhaps some of these names have been baking in the sun a little too long. So I'm gonna give the win to FAN on long-term performance and just on the fact that from a investing right now, I'd be careful going into the solar names.
Okay, very good. And those are some cosmic returns, pretty incredible numbers that you've been throwing out there. But thank you for giving us that context. So Fan is your pick on performance, sort of a contrarian pick, but nevertheless, on the longer scale, like you pointed out, it has outperformed TAN. So next is the mystery battle category. And Mike, you're still up. What is your mystery category and who wins it?
Yeah, so my mystery category, and this really comes down to where do we think the government's going to get involved? We have a new tide change, and I think there's definitely some benefits that will happen as a result of the election, a result of the changing of the guard in both the Senate as well as the White House. And to what extent, Dave brought up Elon Musk, they brought out their numbers just recently, and the vast majority of Tesla's profitability is coming from government credits right now. And to the extent those government credits are going to play into this, I would expect it to benefit TAN more because these companies are more on the innovative side. They're a little bit more pure play, clean energy, a lot of the companies inside of this portfolio. And I think it's easier to see how a solar company might receive credits from some sort of infrastructure plan versus these utility companies that dominate FAN that are multi-faceted utilities. They're not predominantly just clean energy utilities. So the mystery category is really that changing the guard from a political perspective and what that might mean in terms of government incentives for these companies. And I give that benefit to TAN.
All right, that's excellent analysis. Thank you, Mike. How about you, Dave? How do you see it in terms of your mystery battle category? What is it and who wins it?
Ron, position weighting is my mystery category as usual, because when it comes to holding an investment long-term, size matters. Now at ETF PM, we don't trade these green energy ETFs, but if we did, they would typically be eligible for a 2 to 10% allocation. So for position weighting, I call this battle a split decision.
Thank you very much. And we move now to your overall battle winner. Each of our judges will get their final chance to weigh in. So Dave, you're still up. Who is your overall battle winner between TAN and FAN?
Well, Ron, to recap this hot battle, I think solar will continue to outperform, yet I still prefer the diversified and tech-heavy wildcard ETF, QQQ, and the 3 times levered TQQQ. Sticking with the NASDAQ 100 long-term takes discipline, but let's remember, legendary investors like Jack Bogle and Warren Buffett constantly told investors to stick with the S&P 500 instead of picking sectors, let alone themes or individual stocks. Many investors simply can't beat the S&P, and the NASDAQ 100 is the next generation. That said, for this green energy thriller, I give the battle win to solar ETF TAN.
Thank you very much. Mike, your final opportunity to weigh in on your overall battle winner. How do you see it?
I think it's a really interesting battle. I like thematic investing. I believe being able to allocate a diversified basket to different areas of the market that not only provide long-term attractive total return potential, but also may align with your beliefs and your ideologies, I think is a fantastic way to customize portfolios. The one thing I would say with TAN and FAN, if you're going to use them, I would probably use them both. They are uniquely different. There's only one name in common across both portfolios. So it's essentially very different portfolios, or perhaps consider a broader based clean energy ETF to capture both, such as a PBW or an ICLN, which is more of a broader based clean energy. But for this battle, my overall winner is both. You got to own them together if you're going to own one.
Okay. So you got both. That's Mike's choice, FAN and TAN. And gosh, this one is tough. I got to say my scorecard, man. It's
Here
you
comes
guys.
Ron, split decision.
No. I haven't scored this yet. I'm looking at my scorecard. Okay, guys. Yeah, this is going to be a split decision, guys. I mean, you guys agreed in terms of cost not being much of a factor, but then in terms of exposure strategy, performance, you had different takes. In terms of the overall battle winner, you had different takes. And I think each of you made some great points. Obviously, these are very narrow thematic ETFs. If you're looking to play the broader theme of clean energy, to Mike's point, PBW, which was featured in a recent ETF battle, it actually won And that would be certainly an ETF to put on your radar. But in terms of momentum, if you're looking at short-term momentum and performance, as pointed out, Dave, those incredible numbers, TAN has been the winner in terms of short-term performance. So will they be able to continue with that hot streak? We'll just have to wait and see. But there are, again, as Mike pointed out, some fundamentals and legislative benefits that may be leaning in favor of TAN. So these are some things that I think each of you pointed out, that you made some strong points. And hopefully what we've given you, the audience here, in terms of helping you to make your overall final decision in terms of how to play these two clean energy trends, wind and solar. Well, thanks again, judges, for doing an excellent job of weighing in and giving us your takes. Be sure to check out each of our judges. You can get in touch with them. I've got links to each of their sites in the description section below in this video, so be sure to check that out. And we'll catch you next time. Tell us which ETF battles you would like to see. Hit us up on Twitter at ETFguide. You can also post comments in the comment section below. Also, by way of reminder, download the battle recap of today's episode. Again, just hit the link in the description link below. And that does it for this episode. I'm Ron DeLegge. Thanks for watching, and watch the battle before you invest right here on ETF Guide TV.